Let's get into the co-main events. Valentina Shevchenko versus Taila Santos takes place this weekend for the Flyweight World Championship, and the dominance queen Valentina Shevchenko is attempting to make another defense of her Flyweight World Championship against Taila Santos, a dangerous up-and-comer, and in my opinion, I would say with confidence, the most dangerous organic flyweight fighter in women's MMA that Valentina Shevchenko has ever taken on. Now, I know that Joanna Jędrzejczyk moved up and went 5 rounds against Shevchenko and lost, and it was a reasonably competitive fight, but Shevchenko just won all of the grappling moments and won the moments on the feet as well. And I know that Jessica Andrade came up, and that was seen as a very dangerous test because, let's just state the facts here, the strawweight division in women's MMA is way better than the women's flyweight division, and that was proven when Jessica Andrade came up and destroyed Shevchenko, which so far no other women's contender has been able to do. So the women's strawweight division is way better, so they're going to be better tests for Valentina Shevchenko, but in terms of like an organic women's flyweight fighter, this is the best one we've seen come up against Valentina Shevchenko. This ain't no Lauren Murphy who got into the sport at 27 years of age, you know what I mean, just as a hobby and then figured out, oh wait, every women's fighter is terrible. I can become a world championship fighter. And now she's taken on some of the big names as well. This isn't like another one of those contenders. Like Jennifer Maia even wasn't really seen as much going into that Valentina Shevchenko matchup. However, she did have some competitive moments against Valentina Shevchenko where she even won a round maybe in round 2 or something like that by finding her way into top control. And that's why this is a dangerous matchup, because we get so caught up with the dominance of these women's champions. And then sometimes things just happen. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they're injured going in, and normally that's more risky for a dominant fighter because the dominant fighter's mindset is not going to be, I'm injured, let me pull out of this matchup. They're going to say to themselves, I'm so dominant that even if I'm injured, I could go in there and get things done, and sometimes we see that happening. I mean, I don't think it was because of an injury, but Juliana Pena just beat Amanda Nunes. Like, you can see someone as a dominant GOAT and see someone with no chance of beating them, and then just for whatever reason on the day, the timing's a little bit off. Taila Santos has got big power in her hands. Things can happen. You know what I'm saying? You could lose a little bit of respect for your opponent. You could overlook them, not train as hard, but I don't see Valentina Shevchenko doing that. She's still somewhat in her prime. I can see her going out there and getting things done against Taila Santos, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup, man. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Really am. It's a good one. I think there's going to be some kind of jitters out there because there is a chance that Taila Santos could come in and get the finish. But I am going to side with Valentina Shevchenko winning, and there's nothing you can say about that to change my mind. It's just one of them prediction videos. Valentina Shevchenko, the only flyweight champion in women's history. I know Nico Montano, of course, was another women's flyweight champion, but I can just imagine Nico Montano actually at home with her grandkids one day saying, oh, I was a champion, you know, and then the grandkids being like, no, you weren't, mum. I mean, no, you weren't, grandma. We all know you were faked as a champ. That weren't worth anything. Shut up, grandma. Dumb bitch. You know what I'm saying? I can see that even the grandkids of Nico Montano shutting that shit up whenever she tries to bring up that she was a champion. Because basically, Shevchenko has been the only flyweight champion in the women's division and a dominant one at that as well. I can see this being a decision. I think the way to go with predicting this is to predict how this goes and what round it finishes in and how it finishes. I don't see Valentina Shevchenko KOing Taila Santos. Now, I see a lot of people in the comments that are just delusional. They're just simps, basically, is what they are. They just, like, live vicariously through Shevchenko. They think if they support her enough in Instagram comment sections that maybe at one point she'll allow them to go on a date with her or, like, send them a pair of her socks after a training session or something along those lines. Like, I understand there is that culture of, like, such pathetic men that are going to be like, Shevchenko destroys her in 30 seconds. Like, that's never going to happen. She doesn't do that to anyone. She beat Jessica I at some point in the fight with a head kick KO. I understand that, but still, it's not going to be like a blowout performance. Jennifer Maia took her to a decision, and a somewhat competitive one as well. You know what I'm saying? There's been some fighters that have taken her to a decision and had some level of success. Even Katlyn Chookagian was doing okay against Shevchenko, but it seems to me like Shevchenko kind of allows them to do that in a way. She's so content on keeping her belt. She's so wanting of keeping that world championship. She doesn't want to take the risk of going out there and trading with someone in the pocket that could potentially land a KO blow on her behind the ear, or go out there like Nunes and just try and get someone out of there immediately into the fight with big haymakers. She's the sort of girl that's going to sort of take her time, no matter what the opponent is and who the opponent is. She's going to take her time, chip at the legs, land some jabs here and there, go to the body a bit with some kicks, spinning back kick to the body, get her range down, make sure that the opponent's a little bit more tired, the opponent's a little bit beaten up before she goes for any big exchanges. Then maybe start mixing in the takedowns of her own in round 3, 4, and 5 and see what she can do there. I just don't see her finishing Taila Santos. Taila Santos seems to be a very unfinishable opponent. She came in on short notice in her debut. Her only loss that she's ever had against Mara Romero Barella. She took her on in her debut on short notice, and she lost that one by very close decision, but arguably shouldn't have lost it, in all honesty. Like, it could have gone to her anyway on damage, but in women's divisions, they just count control time for no reason, because it's whatever, that's just what they do. But either way, that's her only loss. She's beaten some good girls in the division. She beat, of course, Joanne Calderwood in her last fight very, very dominantly. Beat her in the first round, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just double check that right now. She beat her in the first round by submission. Hurt her, first of all, twice by knockdowns. Like, she's got power in her hands. Won that one by submission in the first round. She's got good finishing ability if she does hurt you first. She hurt Roxanne Modafferi, but took her to a decision. Like, I don't see you finishing Shevchenko if you can't finish Roxanne Modafferi. Like, this is where I don't see Santos really having a chance, because I really don't see her winning a decision, but I don't see her finishing, and that's what you kind of got to pick if you're going to go for the underdog here. You've got to go for some kind of KO blow from Taila Santos, or Shevchenko gives up a bad moment in a scramble and slips and ends up in a rear naked choke position, and Taila Santos gets it done. But when you're showing me that you can't finish Roxanne Modafferi, you're going to a reasonably competitive decision with Gillian Robertson that you win. Like, well done. Like, you won and edged out every single round in the scrambles there. You're not finishing Gillian Robertson. Like, you're not finishing Molly McCann in a reasonably competitive bout as well that you won using takedowns and a couple of shots on the feet here and there and a couple of ground and pound shots at the end of some of the rounds. I'm not going to be picking you to finish Valentina Shevchenko, and this is the annoying part to me. I'm going with Valentina Shevchenko by decision, but why are these women getting the title shots? Like, it really does kind of annoy me. I know they've kind of got to keep Valentina Shevchenko active, but Chookagian was on a 3-fight winning streak. Like, and now she's going to go for 4 against Manon Fiorot, which is coming up, I believe, in UFC Paris or something like that. But why are these women getting title shots? They aren't ready for title shots, but they just keep like, oh, you're in the top 5, time for Shevchenko. I would really much rather have seen, like, instead of Miesha Tate coming down to fight Lauren Murphy, I would have rather have seen, okay, can Taila Santos finish Lauren Murphy? Can she do it quicker than Shevchenko? And then there'd be more of an argument of, like, okay, now we've got a contender, but she's barely just hit number 4 in the rankings. And, like, I don't really care. You know, like, she hasn't proven anything. And if Manon Fiorot at number 6 beats Caitlin Chookagian next, she's going to jump up to number 2 or 1. And she's probably going to jump up to number 1, and she's going to be next for the title shot. But I really want Manon Fiorot to have, like, 3 more fights before she gets towards the title. Like, I don't know why there's no chance. It's like when they gave Vettori the rematch against Adesanya. Like, guy was ranked number 6, number 5. You know what I mean? He just fought Kevin Holland, who wasn't even barely ranked at the time of fighting him, took him to a decision, and he took on Kevin Holland on short notice. Time for a title shot against Israel Adesanya, when Whittaker had already had 2 wins. Like, wait a month and make the Whittaker fight and let Vettori blossom as a contender. Like, it seems like there's certain champions that they just want to keep as champs no matter what, and they keep giving them these premature contenders. Or even with Usman, like, there's like Luque beats Chiesa, and Luque takes number 4 spot or number 3, and he's gone on a massive streak. And then you've got other guys that have gone on streaks in the division, but it's time for a Masvidal rematch. Covington won 1 fight. It's time for a Covington rematch. It seems like they want to keep certain people as champ, and they just give them premature contenders that either haven't earned it after losing in the first place, or haven't, like, earned it anyway in the division. It really kind of annoys me. I'm not going to pick Taila Santos. There is an argument to just Hail Mary it, but I really don't like doing that. I like to sort of go off of what I know. I know she ain't going to finish Valentina Shevchenko. There's a solid chance that don't happen. She is going to have some moments, and I think her power early on, because let's face it, listen, Valentina Shevchenko does get shots landed on her. It's not like she's an untouchable champion. Like, if you go through her stats, they're like, her opponents will land strikes. Now, Lauren Murphy doesn't know what she's doing as a martial artist. Let's just be honest. She has no idea what she's doing with her hands. I don't even think she beat Joanne Calderwood before that fight, but they just needed a new title contender, so what do you know? Lauren Murphy was on more of a win streak. She gets the win and she gets the title shot. But either way, if you look at Valentina Shevchenko's opponents, Murphy didn't land much, landed 11, but Andrade landed 10. Like, people land shots. Jennifer Maia landed 36 to 62 of Valentina Shevchenko. You know what I'm saying? Caitlin Chookagian landed 17. You know, the first round was 13-7. It was 10-7 in the second round. And then Shevchenko dominated the third 17-3 on strikes with the takedown and started dominating it on the ground. But I think the power of Santos is going to give Shevchenko respect for her. Because Santos does hit hard for a woman. And that's what sort of happened in the Nunes matchup as well. Like, Shevchenko was trying to outpoint her and play it safe, and arguably did, if you look back at those fights scoring-wise. But, like, it was the power of Nunes that made her fight that way. Like, I'm sure if Shevchenko didn't respect the power of Nunes, she would have took some more exchanges and tried to get the better of them based on volume, but Shevchenko knows, I'm sure, she's been dropped before in sparring by getting hit by a big shot. She trains with some men, so I'm sure they've hit her a couple of times, like in an exchange, and dropped her. So she knows that she can be dropped, and that is a threat. Like, she fought in Muay Thai for a very long time in kickboxing, so she knows, I'm sure, in training, she's been dropped on one leg and dropped here and there, so I think she knows that if she does get hit a lot of times by Santos, she's going to get dropped. So I think it's going to be a very patient performance, a dull and boring performance. I think Santos might have a moment where she catches Shevchenko and goes for something, but then ends up in a grappling exchange against a cage or something like that. And that's going to be all the commentators talk about afterwards. And I think we're just going to be left with the commentators talking about how tough is Taila Santos, though. But how tough is Taila Santos? I mean, great win by Shevchenko, but you got to speak to the toughness of Taila Santos taking 5 significant strikes a round and 3 inside leg kicks per round. How tough is she? Look at the heart of Taila Santos trying to win in the 5th round. That's what they're going to be talking about, whereas Shevchenko is going to be sort of like just cruising her way to a decision win. I'll say 50-45 decision, maybe 50-44, because I reckon I could see her if it goes into the 5th and she knows she's won. Maybe she gets a takedown, goes for a crucifix and does some shots there. But Taila Santos has got good grappling. I'd say she's shown better grappling than Lauren Murphy, so I don't see her being exposed on the ground by Shevchenko. I don't see her being exposed on the feet. But I do see Shevchenko just schooling her at range. I know Santos has got a reach advantage, but Shevchenko doesn't really jab with her opponents too much. She'll like tap an inside leg kick and then sort of like dart in with hooks and stuff like that. She's not really going to just stay there and jab at range and box with Taila Santos. And that's Taila Santos' main game plan. Box at range, land a big shot, and then go for something afterwards, or try mixing in takedowns of her own. I just don't see that happening with Valentina Shevchenko. I think she's just going to chew her up at leg kick range and win the fight that way. Boring as fuck, but that's women's MMA. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I guess the winner of Chookagian versus Fiorot's going to get the next title shot, so that'll be great. See you later. Goodbye. Click that button up there. I would really want, honestly, I really want Shevchenko to move up and face the winner of Pena versus Nunes. I want to see like a Ketlin Vieira, Irene Aldana 2, and a winner of Fiorot versus Chookagian. If it's Chookagian, she's earned a title shot, but if it's Fiorot, which it likely will be, I'd like to see her take on another contender. The winner of Lauren Murphy versus Misha Tate. Let's say it's Misha Tate, which could happen. And it'd be the winner of Misha Tate, Manon Fiorot. A big fight that'd probably get a bit of popularity. A good position on a card somewhere. And then that'd get some hype for a contender. I don't want to rush contenders. We need a super fight in women's MMA. You know what I mean? And if Shevchenko had beaten Nunes, if Shevchenko had beaten Namajunas, I reckon she would have beaten Esparza. So that would have been cool to see, like, if Weili Zhang had beaten Namajunas originally, then she probably would have beaten Esparza as well. And that would have bought us some time, because I reckon Zhang would have eventually tried to move up and fight Shevchenko. And we just need some super fights in women's MMA, because it's dull right now with all these defenses. Toodle pip, see you later, goodbye. Yeah.